Rain started falling over Blackwater County just after midnight, not the kind of rain people remember fondly. This rain came down cold and hard, hammering against trailer roofs and empty gas pumps, turning dirt roads into black rivers. The kind of rain that made people lock their doors early and ignore noises outside. At 12:43 a.m., dispatch received a call from a payphone behind Miller's Grocery on Route 9. The caller was breathing hard. A woman. She whispered, "I found somebody." Then the line went dead. Deputy Aaron Pike arrived 11 minutes later. The payphone sat under a flickering light beside a dumpster overflowing with soaked cardboard. No one was there, just the phone dangling off the hook and rainwater pooling beneath it. Aaron almost drove away. Then he noticed the footprints, barefoot, small, leading behind the grocery store toward the woods. He followed them with a flashlight in one hand and his jacket pulled tight around his neck. 20 yards behind the building, the mud turned dark red. That's where he found the body. Male, mid-40s, heavy-set, face down in the mud, 3 gunshot wounds to the back. Aaron recognized him immediately. Eddie Voss, owner of Voss Auto Repair. Everybody in Blackwater knew Eddie. Loud voice, expensive truck, the kind of man who slapped backs too hard and smiled too long. He loaned money to people when the bank wouldn't, bought drinks for strangers, sponsored the high school football team every fall. And according to rumors whispered in bars after midnight, Eddie Voss was also dangerous. Women avoided being alone with him. Men owed him money. Nobody ever said anything publicly. In a town that small, people learned to keep their mouths shut. By sunrise, the sheriff's department had blocked off the area with yellow tape. Rain still fell steady, while townspeople gathered across the street pretending not to stare. Sheriff Glenn Mercer stood beside Aaron near the body. "Robbery?" Aaron asked. Mercer shook his head. "Wallet's still here. Watch 2." Aaron crouched lower. There was something strange about the scene. Eddie's body looked posed, his arms folded beneath him neatly. And sitting beside the corpse, untouched by rain somehow beneath the trees, was a white porcelain rabbit. Tiny, clean, deliberately placed. Aaron looked up. "What the hell is that?" Mercer stared at it for a long moment. No idea, but Aaron noticed something else. The sheriff looked nervous. Not disturbed, not shocked. Nervous. Blackwater County had fewer than 7,000 residents, which meant secrets didn't stay hidden long. By noon, everyone knew Eddie Voss had been murdered. By evening, everyone knew about the rabbit. And by the next morning, rumors spread that this wasn't the first time. An older waitress at Rosie's Diner pulled Aaron aside during breakfast. "You remember the Walsh girl?" Aaron frowned. "Bethany Walsh?" The waitress nodded. 6 years ago. Went missing after a party. Aaron remembered. Everybody did. 17 years old, blonde hair, good student, vanished without explanation. No body was ever found. "You know what they found in her mother's yard 3 days later?" the waitress whispered. Aaron already knew the answer before she said it. A porcelain rabbit. A cold feeling crawled up his spine. Aaron reopened the Walsh file that afternoon. Most of it was thin. Dead ends, bad tips, volunteer searches that led nowhere. But one thing stood out. The last confirmed person to see Bethany alive was Eddie Voss. According to witness statements, Eddie drove her home from a graduation party after she'd been drinking. He claimed he dropped her off safely. Bethany was never seen again. Aaron sat in silence reading the file while thunder rattled the station windows. Then he noticed something else. The original investigating officer had written one sentence in red ink. "Do not pursue without sheriff approval," signed by Glenn Mercer. Aaron leaned back slowly. Something wasn't right. That night, Aaron drove out to Eddie Voss's repair shop. The place sat isolated near the edge of town beside a junkyard full of rusted vehicles. Rainwater dripped from twisted metal under the moonlight. The garage door was locked. Aaron circled the building with his flashlight. That's when he smelled it. Bleach. Strong enough to sting his nose. Behind the garage was a secondary storage building. The lock had been freshly replaced. Aaron stared at it for a few seconds before drawing his pistol. Then he shot the lock off. Inside, the smell got worse. Metal shelves lined the walls. Old tires, tools, gas cans. And in the far corner, partially hidden beneath a tarp, a wooden chair bolted to the floor. Aaron's stomach tightened. There were leather restraints attached to the arms. The concrete beneath it was stained dark brown. He moved closer. That's when his flashlight landed on the necklace. A silver chain with a tiny cross pendant. He recognized it immediately from the Walsh file photos. Bethany's necklace. Aaron backed away slowly. Then he heard tires crunch outside. Someone had pulled up. He killed the flashlight instantly. Footsteps approached the storage building, heavy, slow. Aaron raised his pistol toward the doorway. The door creaked open. Sheriff Mercer stepped inside. Neither man spoke for several seconds, then Mercer sighed. "You shouldn't have come here." Aaron kept the gun steady. "You knew." Mercer looked exhausted, not angry, just tired. "I suspected. That girl died in this building." Mercer rubbed his face. "It wasn't supposed to happen." Aaron's voice sharpened. "What does that mean?" The sheriff stared at the floor. "Eddie got drunk at that party 6 years ago. He called me afterward, said he needed help." Aaron felt his pulse thudding in his ears. Mercer continued quietly. "When I got here, the girl was already dead." Silence filled the room. Rain tapped softly against the roof. "You covered it up," Aaron whispered. Mercer nodded once. "He said she overdosed. Panic set in. I made the worst decision of my life." Aaron looked sick. "Where's the body?" Mercer swallowed hard. "There's a lake north of Briar Road. Deep water." Aaron's grip tightened around the pistol. "You helped bury a murdered girl." Mercer's eyes hardened slightly. "Euphemis. You think I don't know what I did?" Then something changed in his expression. Fear. Real fear. Mercer looked toward the open doorway. "She found out." Aaron frowned. "Who?" Before Mercer could answer, a gunshot exploded outside. Mercer jerked violently backward. Blood sprayed across the shelving. Aaron spun toward the doorway. A figure stood in the rain holding a rifle. Small frame, hooded jacket. The figure fired again. Aaron dove behind the chair as bullets tore through the walls. "Drop it," Aaron shouted. The shooter stepped inside slowly. Not rushing, not panicked, purposeful, the hood lowered. Aaron recognized her instantly. Claire Walsh, Bethany's older sister. She looked older than 33, pale face, hollow eyes, rain dripping from dark hair. Sheriff Mercer groaned on the floor beside the shelves, bleeding heavily. Claire pointed the rifle at him. "You let him walk free." Mercer coughed blood. "Claire, you lied to my mother for 6 years." Aaron slowly lowered his gun slightly. "Claire, put the rifle down." She ignored him. "I followed Eddie that night," she said quietly. "I saw him bring Bethany here." Aaron listened carefully. "I called the sheriff," Claire continued. "I watched him help clean the blood." Mercer closed his eyes. Claire's voice trembled now. "You know what that does to a person? Watching people eat breakfast beside a monster for 6 years." Aaron glanced toward the sheriff. "So you killed Eddie?" Claire nodded once. "He deserved worse." Outside, thunder rolled across the county. Aaron spoke carefully. "You could still walk out of here alive." Claire almost laughed. "No. That ended a long time ago." Then she reached into her coat pocket slowly. Aaron tensed. She pulled out another porcelain rabbit and placed it gently on the floor. "My sister collected them," she said. "After she disappeared, I left one every year, somewhere people would notice. I wanted someone to ask questions." Aaron finally understood. The rabbits weren't threats. They were grief. Claire looked down at Sheriff Mercer bleeding beside the shelves. "He dies tonight," she whispered. "And honestly, I don't care." Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Backup was coming. Mercer looked at Aaron weakly. "Please." But Aaron noticed something strange. He didn't say, "Help me." He said, "Don't let her disappear too." Claire heard it too. For the first time that night, her expression cracked. Years of rage suddenly looked more like exhaustion. Aaron lowered his weapon completely. "Claire," he said softly, "it's over." She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly set the rifle down on the concrete floor. Sheriff Glenn Mercer survived long enough to confess everything. Divers recovered Bethany Walsh's remains 3 days later from the bottom of Briar Lake. The story consumed Blackwater County for months. Mercer died in prison awaiting trial. Eddie Voss's crimes unraveled further after investigators discovered evidence tying him to assaults across 2 neighboring counties. And Claire Walsh accepted a plea deal for manslaughter instead of murder after prosecutors confirmed years of corruption and psychological trauma connected to the case. Most people in Blackwater still argue whether justice was served. Some say Claire became the very thing she hated. Others say the town created her, but nearly every version of the story ends the same way. There's still a small cemetery north of Briar Road where Bethany Walsh is buried now beneath a white stone cross. And every year on the anniversary of her disappearance, someone leaves a tiny porcelain rabbit at the grave before sunrise. No one's ever admitted to doing it, but people in Blackwater stopped asking questions a long time ago.